You're watching Council Wrap-Up. We're here with a look at some of the top stories for the Montgomery County Council for the month of November. Hundreds of residents logged on to a virtual meeting to hear public safety officials address the residents of Montgomery Village about safety in their community. The meeting was organized by Craig Rice, the council representative for the community.
I was actually on a fire ride-along with Kingsview Station in Germantown.
Councilmember Rice was joined by 6th District Commander Captain Michael Ward, Sheriff Darren Popkin, Fire Chief Scott Goldstein, and State's Attorney John McCarthy. The leaders outlined the work of their respective offices and highlighted some of the key issues the community faces. Captain Ward says theft from unlocked cars continues to be the most problematic crime for the area.
This is a constant message that we've been putting out to the public about locking vehicles, not leaving items in it that could be stolen, not leaving the keys for one car in the other car, and then not locking it. And it seems to be a message that it's a struggle for us to express to the community where we can put an end to this activity. It's been going on for a very long time. For the criminals that participate in this type of activity, it's almost like going to a buffet where they'll just go to a neighborhood and just go down the line of cars and look for the ones that are unlocked and see what's in there that they can take. It used to be just loose change, but these days we find people leaving garage door openers and, as I referenced a minute ago, keys for one car in the other car. And then we have not just a theft from auto, but we also have an actual stolen vehicle.
Fire Chief Scott Goldstein provided important information for residents on Maryland's new residential smoke alarm law. If you haven't done so, it's time to get rid of those old 9-volt battery smoke alarms.
We used to talk about change your clock, change your battery. No longer should you be changing the battery on your smoke alarm. Your smoke alarm must be equipped with a 10-year battery. That battery is good for the entire life of the smoke alarm. Think about that. You're a fifth grader, you have somebody who's older than a fifth grader, that smoke alarm needs to be younger than they are.
All of the county's public safety agencies have been fully operational during the COVID-19 crisis, including the Sheriff's Office, which oversees the county's Family Justice Center, the central hub for domestic violence services in Montgomery County. Sheriff Darren Popkin told viewers that the case level and severity of domestic violence incidents has increased since the pandemic began.
So what we were able to do is set up some resource information on the FJC website, Family Justice Center website. There is often for those people who were at home and their spouses were at home, and unfortunately there was some family violence, it was very, very difficult for someone to get away and call 911 or to get away and actually come to the Family Justice Center and report some of this potential problems. So we were able to, on an ad campaign, create a safe at montgomerycountymd.gov website, an email address for those for emergency purposes. We ended up collaborating with the police department, state's attorney's office, and County Executive Elrich's office to provide information for what to do while you were in a COVID-19 lockdown, but you were not safe.
Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy made a specific plea for residents to pay attention to any sign that a child might be in danger.
I remain concerned about a population that I think we are not learning about. How do we learn about abuse against children in our community? Typically from teachers and counselors. I will tell you our numbers of complaints for child abuse are down. I don't think child abuse is down. I think it's hidden from us. I think that maybe the charge to anybody listening to this is we really have to be vigilant looking in our community to the children in our community who are much more isolated than they typically are, and the typical reporters, we don't have access to them right now.
Questions during the meeting range from how to receive free smoke alarms.
Go to 311, request MCFRS to come out and do a home safety check.
To how law enforcement can better engage with the community.
With the perception of police, and specifically with people of color, what are you doing to ensure that when it comes to dealing with a community that is primarily a community of color, you can establish a better working relationship, understanding that what they're seeing on TV and sometimes what they're experiencing in their communities is not always a positive one.
There's large misunderstandings of what my profession is actually about. I think there's a failure for us to communicate who we are, what we do, and most importantly, why we do it. I can tell you behind every man and woman who enters this profession is a person that is deeply committed to risking their lives to help other people. And you don't hear that too often, and I can't quite place my finger on why. But we're working every single day to educate our public on who we are, what we actually do, and most importantly, I think why we do it.
Montgomery County is home to more than 76,000 children under the age of 6, and about 40% of those children are economically vulnerable. In recognizing this, the County Council, led by Councilmember Nancy Navarro, made a $7 million investment and adopted an action plan to address early care and education.
High-quality care and education programs that are affordable and accessible have been shown to be cost-effective, have been shown to close education and opportunity gaps and increase socioeconomic benefits that can better entire communities.
This partnership also includes Montgomery College and Montgomery County Public Schools. 1 year into this collaborative effort, funding has more than tripled, the number of early childhood seats has expanded, and programs have become more affordable. Councilmember Navarro says this is one of our county's most critical investments.
This young population is socioeconomically, racially, and ethnically diverse and disproportionately affected by an opportunity gap that leads to an academic achievement gap. In order to maintain our competitive edge as a nation, increase our shared quality of life, and achieve racial equity and social justice, our communities and our workforce must be prepared to access the opportunities presented by a rapidly evolving global economy.
The COVID-19 pandemic has been challenging for county providers. Funding from this initiative has been allocated for PPE and to help providers pay for their space. Moving forward, this initiative will continue with its goal of expanding early childhood opportunities while supporting recovery efforts.
We will undoubtedly get over this terrible crisis. I look forward to continuing to work with our county executive and my colleagues to do everything possible to provide the necessary relief so that when we are done with this crisis, all of these slots are set and ready to receive our amazing children.
For more information about the Early Care Education Initiative and to view the report, visit the website. At One Acre Farm in Dickerson, farmer Mike Protus is a big believer in composting as a method of enriching his soil and delivering healthy food. But getting that compost material hasn't always been easy.
So up until this point, I haven't been making as much compost as I would like to, just simply based on labor and time and access to materials. It's harder to find materials to make compost with.
But a new proposal introduced by Councilmember Evan Glass might just be the answer to Farmer Mike's dilemma.
Happy to continue those conversations.
Montgomery County produces about 147,000 tons of waste each year. Zoning Text Amendment 2004 will create a greener local economy by increasing the amount of organic waste farmers can use on their property to produce and manufacture compost and mulch.
Right now, farms are limited at only accepting 20% capacity for off-site composting, which means the other 80% of what they're composting has to come from their facility, their own farm. But now we're going to increase it to 50%. And that way we're able to accept more food waste from residents of Montgomery County, means less waste in our landfill, less waste in our incinerator, and it's good for the farms and good for the earth.
The main thing is we need, as farmers, we need as much organic matter in our soil as possible. So by expanding the amount of material we can compost in this zone text amendment, we can then create more compost, which we can put on our fields. At the moment, there's a never-ending supply. We could use an unlimited supply of compost. Now, of course, in 20 years, that's a different story. But for right now, we have a lot of work to build up our soils back up so that they have enough organic matter to grow the healthy plants that we need to furnish healthy people.
Montgomery County has committed to significantly reducing its carbon footprint by 2035.
If we're going to meet those goals, not only here in Montgomery County, but nationally and globally, we have to start taking more bold action. The small businesses working with the farmers, helping our residents. I mean, that is the circle of life right here.
So this is one of several sites here. We're partnering with the Caseman Clinic, and we are doing a partnership with the Latino Health Initiative with a targeted approach. We're calling it the Salute Initiative, and it is part of our recognition that this is a virus that has not hit every community the same, that has disproportionately hit certain communities and certain zip codes, and we need to have a targeted response and a targeted approach.
The pandemic is disproportionately impacting the Latino community. Latinos are very much frontline workers. They work in construction. They work in food service industries that don't have the benefit of working from home, and in the process putting themselves at risk. So it's so important for us to try to get as many people tested as possible so that we can help to keep this pandemic down.
You can fill this information. If you don't have any symptoms, just leave it blank.
But also broadly to the entire county, making sure that our residents understand that they can get tested, they should get tested, even if they're asymptomatic. Not enough people realize that we are offering testing to asymptomatic patients. I'm in the 20 to 39 category, so I'm trying to test here as an asymptomatic person in that category. We no longer have a situation where you have to wait until you have symptoms in order to get tested. You should get tested. You should have your relatives and family get tested. And then we also have to do all of the other precautions that are so important to attacking this virus. It's so easy. Social distancing, mask wearing, and frequently washing our hands. And so if we can do all of these things, we can make sure that we get tested. We'll be able to bring down the numbers, which have reached an alarmingly high rate in recent weeks, and we can hopefully get through this together as one community.
The coronavirus pandemic derailed plenty of couples' plans to tie the knot this year, and many of those events were scheduled at Brookside Gardens in Wheaton.
Weddings are usually planned 12 to 18 months out, so it was a lot of disappointment for the brides, but just explaining to them that we're with them to make sure their day is the best. We're very honored to be able to make Brookside part of their memories. So whether it's memories now or memories a year from now, we're hoping that their event will just go as smoothly as possible.
But as it turns out, for those who were dreaming of a summer wedding, there is another option available at Brookside, a winter wedding at one of the newly created outdoor venues. So if you don't want to wait another year to tie the knot, the folks at Brookside say they've got you covered.
Montgomery County has a strict no more than 25 people rule. Unfortunately, that also has to include our staff. So we've been telling people anywhere from 15 to 20 people. We've been decorating different areas in the gardens to make sure it looks pretty for winter. And of course, the gardens is gorgeous any time of year. So they can come in, pick any spot they want, and do a wedding. And we have different options. We have smaller stand-up weddings, we have formal sit-down weddings, and we work with them to make sure we're able to handle their financial needs and what their needs are that they want.
There's no question our parks have been a lifesaver for so many county residents during the pandemic, including those couples who are ready to walk down the aisle.
People still want to have that moment, even though 2020 has been very up in the air. The one thing that isn't up in the air is that they love people and they want to get married to the person they want to spend the rest of their life with. Why not get 2020 ending with a bang and get 2021 started off right? It's the one thing that most people are always trying to do, is that we want to keep COVID guidelines and keep you safe, but we also want you to know that life is continuing on and we're here to keep those memories alive.
The 2021 wedding calendar is filling up quickly, and the folks at Brookside are optimistic about what lies ahead. For more information about holding a winter wedding at Brookside Gardens, visit their website. Well, that does it for this edition of Council Wrap-Up. For more information about the work of the County Council, visit their webpage. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kenedy.